Our next step is to put the Kagami inside of the N, the frame. So once we have the 3 layers put together, here we'll be sliding that inside the outer frame, and we have this secured down with our temporary securing stitch. We leave this in there. That keeps the 3 layers together. And also we may need to cut off a little bit of the interfacing just to make sure it doesn't bunch up right at the edge here. So make sure the 3 layers fit dimensionally inside the frame before you start aligning that. And then what we do is use the chalk line that we created earlier, that we squared up with all of our seams here, and then use that to align exactly with the outer fabric, the EN. So we also want to make sure we have the Kagami here with the top here and the bottom here. Again, we see that with the folds. So here's our fold underneath. So it's flowing. The fabric is down like this. Each piece is lower as we go down. And then you want to make sure to get your frame in the right orientation as well. There's a front side and a back side, and we tell that by looking at this fold, or this corner, each corner here. So this is the underside. We want this top part to be on top of the side. That's the same thing. This is on top, this is on bottom. This is on top, this is on bottom. You can see on the back side, actually it's reversed. The side is on top and the top is underneath. So make sure you have the right side of the N facing up. So we again align the chalk lines right to the corner and then pin those down. We pin them down. Actually don't want to go all the way through with our pins, because when we sew, we'll be holding this back, just the layer here. I'll be sewing through the 3 layers and the N. So we don't actually sew. We leave this loose. We'll sew that later. So when you pin it, make sure you're not pinning all the way through. Start on the corners and get each corner aligned. I should also mention that it's best to have this upper corner of the N be the one where we joined it together, so we have that seam connecting the N. It's all one continuous piece, and we sew it up in this corner. So it's best here up in the left hand corner, because our straps come down and can kind of cover any slight imperfections that we have there. So we're pinning each corner, and as you kind of put this together for the first time, this will be unfolded here. So what you're doing is pinching the fabric here right on the chalk line, and then folding it under and getting a nice corner there. And as you go along, you can just pinch this right along the chalk line, set it down on the chalk line. And then once our corners are set with pins, we try to bring this taut, and then we'll want to put our next pin right in the middle. If we were to pin starting on one side and then going this way, we could easily end up with a gap here, maybe a little too much. It's well aligned here, but you could actually be pushing the fabric this way and then ending up with a gap there. So we want to start by pulling both sides taut and getting that first pin in the middle, aligning the edge to the chalk line. Again, not pinning all the way through, but through all the layers except for the back. And then as we go along here, keep pulling this taut and putting in pins, and that'll help any excess fabric that may be on the top or on the Kagami to be evened out. So hopefully everything should be pretty much aligned there. You can make small adjustments. If you got too much of a gap here, you may be able to shift your corners slightly. So continue around pinning. Again, holding a section taut, pinning in the middle, and then putting pins, further pins to secure your frame all the way around. And then we'll simply do our regular stitch. We'll do that regular stitch all the way around, just near the edge here. And again, when we're doing that stitch, we're not going through this back side here. We're going through all the other layers except for this back one. So you do your regular stitch along the edge all the way around. And then when we're done with that, we should use a piece of cloth over the top of it and iron this, just so all the edges are nice and crisp. And you can iron on the back too, but make sure to have a piece of cloth over the top to protect the silk. And from here, we take our unfolded edge and then pinch that down, get a nice edge all the way around the four sides. You may actually run into an issue where you see the stitches on this white fabric from when we were sewing on the front side. And if you do that, you can slightly adjust your fold, where you do your fold here, to unfurl it slightly. You do not want to make an adjustment by moving this up, because then we'll have kind of some buckling going on there. So leave your outer edges ironed and folded, and do a slight adjustment to give you a little extra fabric to cover up any sewing that you see from the front side. And once we have all these folded down and pinned, then we'll do a regular stitch or a hidden stitch. And with attention to the process of sewing as usual, we'll want to make sure not to go all the way through to the front side on that. So when you're doing your regular stitch here to secure this one last layer, we're going through that layer and then through the inside layers, but not all the way through. So keep monitoring to make sure that your stitch is not showing. Would probably show up on the Kagami a little bit there. So we go all the way around and complete that back side. From there, we'll do one final line of stitching right along the outside here, and that's through all the layers. So you go through all the way to the back on that, and that goes all the way around, just around the outer perimeter, right around there. And then we measure a chalk line directly in the middle. So we'll have one here on this edge, one here on the close to the outer edge, and then do a chalk line right in the middle. And then we sew one seam all the way through to the back on the middle as well, securing that all together.